review, and certainly we want to learn from it, but we don't want to compound it. We don't want to trip on anything that's behind us, and we got to make sure now we get to come out and be locked in and focused on a.
Is it truly possible for a single athlete to rewrite the physical and psychological rules of professional basketball in under 48 minutes? Fans filing into the packed United Center thought they were attending just another heated Midwest rivalry game. But what actually unfolded on the court left even seasoned sports analysts completely stunned. The energy inside the building was volatile from the moment warm-ups began, with years of underlying franchise friction bubbling right beneath the surface. Every single possession felt like a high-stakes postseason elimination battle, defined by grinding defense and unrelenting trash talk between players who genuinely do not like each other. Yet amidst the deafening noise, physical intimidation, and relentless double teams, one player remained entirely untroubled by the surrounding chaos. Caitlin Clark put on a basketball exhibition so dominant that it didn't just decide the outcome of the game, it systematically dismantled the opposing team's entire game plan piece by piece. By the time the final buzzer rang out, she had posted a monster triple-double that sent shockwaves through the entire sports world, leaving the rival coaching staff speechless, and her own head coach delivering one of the most passionate post-game speeches of the entire season. But to truly grasp how historic this moment was, you have to understand the intense pressure cooker that built up long before tip-off even occurred. Going into this highly anticipated matchup, the narrative surrounding the team had hit an all-time high in terms of media speculation, fan debate, and intense public scrutiny. When head coach Stephanie White took over the helm for Indiana, sports talk shows immediately began dissecting every single play call, searching for any subtle sign of conflict between her structured tactical philosophy and her star players' fast-paced instinctual play style. Social media platforms were flooded with unverified rumors, suggesting that the two had crossed paths uncomfortably during tactical film sessions, with commentators publicly questioning whether a veteran leader could truly handle a young generational talent who commands the national spotlight. The pressure was compounded by a brutal regular season schedule, constant travel fatigue, and endless debate shows picking apart every minor turnover or defensive miscommunication on the floor. Skeptics openly questioned if the team's offense could handle aggressive, physical ball pressure from opposing guards who were willing to test the absolute limits of official rulebooks. Every single practice clip, post-game press interview, and sideline interaction was analyzed under a massive microscope, creating an environment where a single loss could spark a full-scale national media crisis. And when the referee finally tossed the ball into the air to start the game, the emotional floodgates opened immediately. The physical play was dialed up to an extreme level within the opening minutes, as defenders pushed the absolute limits of legal contact. Hard fouls were delivered on driving lanes, screeners set punishing picks, and floor collisions occurred on nearly every transition play down the court. The tension exploded when a controversial physical hit led to an official review, resulting in an immediate flagrant call that sent the home crowd into a state of absolute fury. Shortly after, the whistleblowing became completely unpredictable, leading to heated exchanges between bench personnel and court officials. In the middle of the madness, technical fouls were assessed to both Clark and Coach White for passionately contesting what appeared to be obvious missed calls on drive attempts. Accusations surfaced online from furious fans claiming that officials were intentionally allowing unsafe physical play to go unpunished against Indiana's primary stars, while calling touch fouls on the other end. And what happened next would shock everyone watching from home. Instead of allowing the hostile environment or questionable calls to break her focus, Clark channeled the raw tension into pure basketball brilliance. She completely seized control of the game's tempo, turning defensive rebounds into instant breakaways before the opposition could even set up their half-court trap. Her court vision was nothing short of miraculous, whipping full-court pass dimes through tight defensive windows directly into the hands of sprinting teammates for easy layups. Whenever the defense tried to trap her at the top of the key with two defenders, she effortlessly picked them apart, with precise skip passes to open corner shooters. When defenders played off her to guard against the drive, she pulled up from deep logo range, burying demoralizing three-pointers that silenced thousands of hostile fans in a matter of seconds. She crashed the glass against heavily favored interior players, snatching critical defensive rebounds amidst a sea of taller centers and instantly pushing the ball right back down their throats. Stat crew workers at the scorer's table were struggling to keep up with the overwhelming output as her points, assists, and rebounds climbed into double digits simultaneously. The opposing defense looked completely demoralized, switching through 4 different coverage schemes in a desperate effort to slow down the offensive avalanche. Nothing worked, because Clark wasn't just scoring, she was orchestrating the entire floor, like an elite chess master reading a broken defense. By the time the fourth quarter hit the halfway mark, the game was fully decided, and the record books were being rewritten once again. Clark officially secured her monster triple-double, marking a milestone that put her in elite, unprecedented company across professional basketball history. The bench exploded with excitement, celebrating a performance that was equal parts competitive grit and absolute tactical masterclass. When the game finally concluded, the focus shifted immediately to the post-game media room, where reporters were eager to hear Stephanie White's response to the chaos on the floor. Coach White took her place at the podium with visible intensity, addressing the room with raw honesty that immediately captivated every camera present. She started by standing up fiercely for her roster, directly challenging the officiating decisions and calling out the excessive physical hits her players had endured throughout the evening. But when the conversation turned to Clark's individual performance, White's dynamic shifted completely, from defensive coach to awestruck admirer. She expressed pure amazement at what she had just witnessed from the bench, telling reporters that trying to describe Clark's performance with standard stats simply doesn't do it justice. White declared to the entire national media that Clark possesses a rare, undeniable it factor that simply cannot be taught, rehearsed, or guarded by any scheme in existence. Her heartfelt statements instantly shattered months of fabricated media rumors surrounding potential internal friction between player and coach. For weeks, sensationalized headlines had tried to convince the public that there was a growing disconnect on the bench, but seeing White passionately defend and celebrate her star guard proved just how deep their trust truly was. Behind the scenes, the locker room dynamic was thriving on high energy, competitive accountability, and mutual respect. Unfiltered backstage clips had previously captured White reacting in sheer delight at Clark's ridiculous stat lines during post-game huddles, showing a bond that was built on shared victory rather than individual ego. When White was recently recognized with Coach of the Month honors, Clark led the locker room celebration with hilarious, playful enthusiasm, high-kicking in front of the entire roster to honor her coach. That unscripted moment highlighted a genuine camaraderie that complete outsiders had completely failed to recognize during their rush to criticize. But that wasn't the whole story, because this singular dominant victory carried implications that stretched far beyond a single regular season night. By utterly destroying a divisional rival on their home court in front of a record broadcast audience, Clark and the Fever sent a terrifying statement to every championship contender in the league. Her ability to consistently deliver triple-doubles, despite facing targeted physical play, relentless double teams, and hostile road environments, has forced defensive coordinators across the country to completely throw out their defensive playbooks. Opposing coaches are now facing an impossible dilemma: double-team her and get torn apart by her legendary passing, or play her single coverage and watch her score 30 points from 30 feet out. The physical blueprint that rival franchises relied on to frustrate young stars has proven entirely ineffective against Clark's elite decision-making and rapid court processing speed. The national narrative surrounding the team underwent an immediate seismic shift in the hours following the game. Media outlets that had spent weeks dissecting minor team flaws were suddenly forced to acknowledge that they were watching a historic evolution unfold in real time. Viewership metrics soared to unprecedented levels, proving once again that whenever Clark steps onto the hardwood, casual viewers and die-hard sports fans alike tune in by the millions. The sheer gravity of her presence has lifted entire franchise valuations, sold out arenas nationwide, and elevated the standard of play across the entire sport. Former legendary players took to social media to praise her incredible court awareness, calling her performance one of the most complete individual displays the league has seen in decades. As the season progresses toward the postseason, rival teams are quickly realizing that the window to stop this rising powerhouse is rapidly closing. Indiana has evolved from a young, developing squad into a cohesive, dangerous championship contender that plays with relentless confidence and unshakable chemistry. Guided by a visionary coach who embraces her stars' unique gifts and anchored by a generational player who thrives under maximum pressure, the franchise is operating at a peak performance level that few anticipated so quickly. The Chicago Sky were simply the latest opponent to learn the hard way what happens when you try to contain an absolute basketball phenom at the height of her powers. In the end, this game proved that true greatness cannot be contained by physical intimidation, media noise, or hostile environments. Caitlin Clark didn't just win a game or fill up a stat sheet. She delivered a statement performance that will be remembered, dissected, and celebrated for years to come. Stephanie White's passionate praise was more than just a great post-game quote. It was an official acknowledgement that we are all witnessing the rise of an all-time legend. As the rest of the league scrambles to find answers before the next matchup, one simple truth remains crystal clear for every single opponent on the schedule. Caitlin Clark is not just changing the trajectory of her franchise, she is fundamentally changing the entire sport, and her journey is only just getting started. The ripple effect of this monster performance hit social media like a freight train within minutes of the final buzzer. Highlights of Clark's no-look passes and deep logo shots racked up tens of millions of views across every major platform, sparking furious debates among sports commentators and casual observers alike. Veteran analysts who had spent months predicting she would hit a rookie wall or buckle under professional physicality were suddenly forced to walk back their previous critiques live on air. Fans flooded internet forums to point out that Clark wasn't just meeting expectations. She was setting a brand new gold standard for what offensive efficiency looks like in modern basketball. The sheer volume of online engagement shattered league social media records, demonstrating that her cultural impact extends far beyond the hardwood floor. What makes this specific triple-double even more remarkable is the context of how Chicago attempted to guard her throughout the four quarters. From the opening possession, the Sky employed a full-court pressure scheme specifically designed to wear down her cardiovascular stamina and force early turnovers. They threw multiple physical defenders at her, picking her up 40 feet from the basket and denying her easy catch-and-shoot opportunities off screens. In previous games against physical defenses, critics claimed that heavy contact could throw off her shooting rhythm or cause her to force difficult decisions. But on this night, Clark read the defense like an open book, using their own aggressive momentum against them by slipping quick passes to rolling bigs or pulling up before defenders could set their feet. Her teammates fed off that unselfish play style, elevating their own individual performances to match her competitive energy on every single possession. Kelsey Mitchell leaked out on fast breaks with total confidence, knowing that if she got half a step on her defender, Clark would put the ball on her fingertips without hesitation. Aaliyah Boston dominated the paint, benefiting directly from the massive attention Clark drew every time she drove toward the lane. The entire team operated like a well-oiled machine, proving that when Clark is playing at an MVP level, her elevate everyone effect turns good players into dangerous scoring options. The trust built between Clark and her supporting cast was fully visible in every high five, bench celebration, and defensive rotation made during the game's crucial closing minutes. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in the Chicago locker room after the game was one of utter deflation and disbelief. Opposing players admitted in post-game media availability that guarding Clark feels like trying to stop a tidal wave with a paper shield. Their head coach acknowledged that despite executing their defensive game plan precisely as practiced during pre-game walkthroughs, Clark simply made plays that defied traditional scouting reports. When an opponent can hit shots from 35 feet out and simultaneously thread needlepoint passes through 3 defenders, standard basketball tactics become almost entirely useless. The demoralizing effect of watching her sink shot after shot while racking up assists left the sky visibly drained as they exited their home floor. This game also marked a major turning point in how Stephanie White is viewed by fans and analysts across the country. Taking on the task of coaching a viral phenomenon like Caitlin Clark comes with immense unseen pressure, where every win is attributed to the star player and every loss is blamed on the coaching staff. For months, White walked a delicate line, trying to install structured defensive principles without stifling the creative freedom that makes Clark so special. This masterclass victory proved that White's tactical framework is actually enhancing Clark's natural instincts rather than restricting them. By empowering her superstar to push the pace while holding the rest of the roster accountable on defense, White has established a winning formula that looks built to last for seasons to come. Behind closed doors, the preparation that led to this blowout performance was far more intense than fans realized. Insiders reported that following a tough loss earlier in the week, White and Clark spent extra hours reviewing film together, isolating key areas where opposing defenses were trying to speed up Indiana's half-court execution. Rather than getting defensive about mistakes, Clark devoured the feedback, making immediate adjustments to her footwork, passing angles, and pick-and-roll reads. That dedication to perfection is what separates good athletes from true generational icons. When your most talented player is also your hardest worker, it sets a standard that trickles down to every single member of the roster. The economic impact of this game was equally staggering, providing further proof of the unprecedented phenomenon surrounding Clark's career. Ticket prices on secondary markets for the matchup reached astronomical numbers normally reserved for league finals or major music concerts. Scalpers reported record demand as fans traveled from across the country just to witness history in person from the upper deck. Local businesses around the arena saw massive surges in revenue, with sports bars packed to capacity hours before tip-off. The commercial power Clark generates is transforming the financial landscape of the entire sport, attracting high-profile corporate sponsors and major media networks eager to broadcast every minute of her games. Controversies around refereeing consistency continue to dominate post-game talk shows, with many questioning whether stars like Clark are protected fairly under existing officiating guidelines. Throughout the contest, multiple uncalled hard hits stirred debate over whether officials are intentionally letting play get overly physical to balance the talent gap on the floor. Coach White's willingness to take a technical foul in defense of her team was seen by fans as a critical moment of leadership that signaled she will not allow her players to be bullied without a fight. That willingness to absorb a fine to protect her roster earned White massive respect from both players and supporters across the nation. Looking at the historical context, triple-doubles in